Hi everyone, thanks so much for being here. My name is Kat and I make houseplant videos here on Good and Planty. If you just so happen to absolutely love this video, please consider liking it, commenting, subscribing, or following me on Instagram. All of these things help me grow my channel like a plant. Today we are talking about the MONSTERA DELICIOSA, obviously. But first I wanted to give a very special shout out to one of my sweetest subscribers. So shout out to Millie. Thank you so much for supporting my channel. You are the best and I hope you enjoy this video. Okay, so like I said, we are going to be talking about the MONSTERA DELICIOSA today in all of its houseplant glory. I will be going over water, light, soil, humidity, propagation, how to get splits, and all of that stuff. So if that is of interest to you, then keep watching. Some basic overview of the MONSTERA DELICIOSA. It is an extremely popular houseplant, and it is an epiphyte with aerial roots, which I will get to later. These plants can flower and fruit, which you'll hear about if you read about the MONSTERA DELICIOSA, but that is extremely rare in the home, like probably will not happen to you. So don't worry about doing that, but these care tips will help you get the holes and slits that you probably want in your MONSTERA. The only thing I will point out about this houseplant is that even if you buy it small, these plants grow extremely large, clearly. Be mindful of that if you're bringing it into your home, but I will also share a tip for stunting a MONSTERA's growth if it is a plant you want to keep a bit smaller. Okay, so now let's jump into the care of MONSTERA DELICIOSAs. Water. MONSTERA DELICIOSAs do like to stay fairly dry with like a touch of moisture. I tend to water my MONSTERA when it gets to just below the moist mark on my moisture meter. So I definitely recommend getting a moisture meter. But another way that you can tell when a MONSTERA is thirsty is its leaves will start to droop a little bit and they will be pretty soft, so you can kind of bend them easily. Whereas when they are hydrated, they'll be a little bit more stiff. If you are overwatering your MONSTERA, you will be able to tell because the leaves will be turning yellow and soft. But on top of that, you'll probably also finding some mushiness and dark brown black spots on your plants, and that is a sign of root rot. And basically what's happening is your plant is rotting. So if you're kind of seeing some funky signs, some rotting, it's probably a sign of overwatering. If you are underwatering your plant, there will be some similarities in the symptoms. Your leaves will probably be turning yellow and soft, but you'll probably find a little bit more of a brownish color and some crisping on the edges because the plant is dry. Light. Okay, so MONSTERAs are actually great houseplants because they do well in a broad range of light. It kind of just depends on your expectations for the plant. The only thing the MONSTERA does not like is direct sun, so just be careful if you are going for a little bit of higher light that you're not putting it completely in direct sunlight. If you want faster growth, I do definitely recommend leaning towards the stronger light situation. Again, just be careful of direct light. And also if you're moving it from a lower light area, you're probably going to want to slowly increment it up so that it can acclimate to a little bit of a brighter light situation. If you go ahead and move it from low light straight to like a south facing window, even if it's indirect, you'll probably still scare the plant a little bit. I have mine kind of in between a south facing and an east facing window, so it does get plenty of light, but it is a little bit of a shaded area, and I have no scorching on the leaves, but plenty of slits. So that is the key to slits and holes, lots of sun. For light, I'm also going to recommend that you clean these leaves because as you can see, they get pretty big and will collect dust over time. So maybe once a week, maybe once every other week, depending on what your schedule is like, just go around and clean off your MONSTERA leaves. I talked about the leaf cleaning solution that I make/use in a Soothing Sunday recently, so I will link it up here in case you want to go check it out. If the plant is getting too much sun, you'll probably be able to tell because it'll look a little chlorotic, losing some of that bright green color and burning. You'll see some crisping that'll look like burning. And if it's not enough light, you will probably see pretty slow growth and again, not big leaves with any holes or slits. To get those holes and slits, you're gonna wanna do optimal conditions, and light is probably one of the most important ones. Soil and repotting. My number one tip for the Monstera Deliciosa is to not repot it unless it's absolutely bursting out of the pot. Monsteras love to be root bound, so even though they grow really fast and you'll probably see some roots starting to poke out of the drainage hole pretty fast, don't repot it until, you know, there's roots just pouring out of the bottom or they start coming out of the top and the plant is actually declining. When you do repot your plant, I recommend doing it in the spring or early summertime and only go up about 1 inch or 2. I like to pot mine up in a mixture of regular organic potting soil, perlite, a little bit of mosquito bits, and then some orchid bark because it is epiphytic. And I do put mine in a terracotta pot, but I know that a lot of people do like to keep it in a nursery pot and put it in like a little cover pot. It's kind of up to you. I just prefer the porousness of terracotta. I am a terracotta gal for sure. While you are repotting your Monstera, you'll probably have to decide if you want to stake up the Monstera and let it grow upwards or just kind of let it sprawl out and grow however it wants to. If you're looking for those holes and fenestrations, I definitely recommend staking it up. It will also be a big space saver if you train it to climb up rather than out. My plant, it has the slits in it, but I think if I wanted those little tiny holes, I probably would have to stake it up and also give it some more time because those holes and slits come with maturity. And I did get this plant not super small, but it was only like an 8-inch pot or something. So that will be like the next step for this plant. However, if you are out of space and your Monstera is eating up your room and you want to stunt the growth, what you can do is actually just do not repot it at all. Keep it in the pot size that it's in and that you can work with, and just prune it back kind of aggressively because they can get kind of crazy. And the last thing I'm going to talk about in repotting is aerial roots. Aerial roots are roots that grow out of the soil and they will pop out of nodes. So you can either leave the aerial roots to grow out as is, you can kind of wrap them up the stake that you pot up with your Monstera, or you can completely chop them off. It will not harm the plant. If you leave them to grow, you can miss them, and you can also water your plant through the aerial roots a little bit, but I just kind of let mine hang and I clip them back just a little bit once in a while if I notice some rot starting to form. Humidity and temperature. So this is going to be a pretty quick and easy category. There is nothing fancy to this. They do like pretty average home temperatures and maybe even a little bit warmer, probably 65 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit. As for humidity, they do really appreciate higher humidity, but it's not like crucial, if you catch my drift. You can give them a humidifier if you want, but my Monstera has grown a lot and it's pretty far from my humidifier. If you want to see faster growth, get a humidifier is kind of what I'll say. Fertilizer. Like I have said like 50 times already, these plants grow like crazy. They grow massive. So as you can imagine, they definitely want food. You will want to fertilize your Monstera during the growing season, spring/summer. And you've heard me say it a million times if you're a subscriber, but I use Espoma's organic, balanced, all-purpose fertilizer, and I dilute it in a gallon of water and I give it to my plants during watering time every 2 weeks. So sorry if you're a subscriber and have heard that for the 10th time, but that's what I use. And it is linked down below if you want to check it out. Propagation. Propagations are fantastic with this plant and extremely easy. My favorite method is to water propagate, but you can also do soil propagation here and probably spag too. I think spag works with pretty much anything. For any of these methods, you are going to want to find a node and just cut below below the node because that is where roots are going to grow out of. If you put the propagation in water, you're just going to want to switch out that water at least once a week. And if you put it in soil, you are going to want to keep the soil moist probably for the first week or two. Same with spag. This plant would also do well with air layering, I think, but I haven't tried that, so I'm not going to speak on it, but I'm just putting it out there if you want to look into it more yourself. Air layering is probably a good option for this plant. Okay, so that's gonna be it for today's video. Please drop down any Monstera tips or questions down below in the comment section, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!